Good evening, one and all. Today, our topic for tonight is life-saving football helmets, and these are our team members: Paul, Ray, Preethi, and Kim. Uh, I'm going to introduce a video first. Um, there is a growing awareness in the football team that these hard hits may cause the brain injuries to the people. So, in USA, every year there are 1.5 billion people who are suffering with the brain injuries. In that 1.5 billion people, there are 250,000 head injuries only from the football team each year. The highest number of injuries are only from the football game. We have many games, but only from the football game we have the many number of injuries. They may get trauma and they may be untreated by the people. When they get the hits, the people may not take care about that one. They start playing the game again and again. Head impact telemetry system is a system that calculates the head acceleration. I mean the accelerations and the components of that head impact system are the accelerometer, temperature sensor, wireless transceiver, non-volatile memory, and the battery pack. The accelerometer takes the hard hits. Takes the sudden hits that causes to the person, and the wireless transceiver sends the data from the helmet to the coaches who are sitting outside the game, and the temperature sensor controls the temperature. And in the non-volatile memory, the data is saved when the person gets hard hits. It can save about 100 times of the hard hits that can be taken place for a person. And the next part will be continued by.
Okay, I'm going to cover the history of the football helmet. And originally, in 1860, there were no helmets. Basically, the players just wore bandanas on their heads. Safety obviously wasn't a big impact at the time. There have been attributed to lack of wearing helmets in that time up to 18 deaths. The football games were pretty rough, and they just really didn't, I guess, obviously care too much about safety. In 1893, the first helmet was invented by a blacksmith, and Navy personnel needed the helmet to protect himself, and so he went and asked this person to make the helmet for him. It ended up being made out of leather, and it was actually made kind of out of a horse harness, and so that's how it became the leather harness. And as it progressed, it came into many fads and shapes. Some of them were called the beehive, the flat top, and the dog ear. And then eventually they progressed into new colors, and then finally later on, probably in the 1940s, they started putting logos on the helmets to recognize the teams. It was mandatory, they made it mandatory in colleges in 1939, and the NFL followed suit in 1943. And at that time, they were still wearing leather helmets. And they were trying to introduce plastic to replace the leather helmets. However, the plastic was very brittle and actually was causing injuries to the players as well. But eventually, the plastic did get better, and you'll see in the 1950s, the helmets did improve, and they did things like put better plastic. They altered the shape of the helmet so it was more aerodynamic and safer around the face. And then they invented the Airfield helmets, where you would actually put the helmet on your head and air bladders, and it would fit right to your head. These helmets were called Air TM helmets, and from that point on, in 1970 up to the present day, they basically made some mild changes, but it did for the protection of the player. They did turf guards. They put ear holes in the thing so you could hear audible calls. They used chin straps. They integrated a new face guard where at one time it was just like the 1 bar, then it went to the 2 bar. Like this was more sophisticated and safer to use. They had visor and eye shields that you'll see some of the players have underneath their helmets to protect their vision. Next, I'm going to turn it over to you, Elvis.
An accelerometer is a device for measuring acceleration. Is actually called a MEMS, M-E-M-S, or a micro mechanical device. It is used for sensoring and measuring vibration, like seismic activity, like the earthquake that we had earlier last week. It's also used in newer technology like the iPhone It senses the tilt and the angle to switch from portrait view to landscape when you turn it. So it's used in all sorts of devices. It's used in automobile airbags. It senses the shock and triggers the airbag. So in all types of devices, these are used, and they're spring-loaded. And so this fits up inside the helmet, and it senses where the player gets hit and how hard it is, what speed he's going. There's all different types of measurements that it takes so that the people on the sidelines can take the data back and study it. One of the new devices that incorporates this technology is the Wii to sense different angles. Nike has integrated them into some of their running shoes to sense how fast a runner is moving and their speed and velocity and those types of things. And some of the newer laptops are coming out with technology that includes this to help prevent against hard drive damage. If the laptop is dropped, it senses it and shuts down the hard drive so that nothing's moving whenever it hits the ground. Some of the current studies are in the NFL. They've done some studies since the early 90s on concussions, head impacts, and brain injuries. There's lots of NFL players right now that are suffering from Alzheimer's disease, and they're in their 40s. And so this is brought on these studies. But as with any panel that's formed internally by a place that makes so much money like the NFL, there's going to be controversy. So when they assign their own doctors and things of that nature, the data can be skewed. So it's always better for an outside company to do the research. And that's what we get with college. College has scientists, professors, researchers that are interested in doing these types of studies. And so that data is more accurate because there's no influence. I mean, there can be, but it's less likely.